Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to go over a couple of the most popular or most common interview questions you might see out there and tell you how to answer them effectively. Now you can do like generic answers to these, but if you answer them in the way I'm going to show you and teach you here in this video, then you should be able to really show the potential employer that you're one of the high performers and you're not like everybody else. So that's the whole goal with answering questions appropriately. So the number one question people are going to get, especially in a phone screen interview, is going to be this: tell me about yourself. So how do you answer this? Well, here's kind of a structure to answer it. Number one is just one sentence introducing who you are. Like, what's your level of experience? Where are you currently working at? If you currently have a cybersecurity job, like what is it? What is that information about you? Again, just a single sentence. You don't need to go on about, 3 hours worth of stuff about you. The next part is 2 to 4 specific metrics, if you have those, that make you stand out based on the job role. So the more you can have, like this example here where it's, I reduced support tickets by 11.2%. The more you can flesh out a specific example, the better off, even if you can only think of one. So for example, if you could only think of, I've been in healthcare cybersecurity for 3 years, like this example shows, I build automation that reduced our support tickets by this percentage. That shows me as a hiring manager that you can actually come in and have some kind of an impact immediately at my organization. And I'm much more likely to either move you to the next round or to actually make you the offer. And same thing if I'm the recruiter or a HR person interviewing you on a phone screen. If you answer with some kind of metric like that, I'm going to be impressed, and I'm going to move you to the next round with the hiring manager. So it's just a quick way for you to get a yes. And then the last part there is just 1 to 2 sentences about why you actually want the job. So why do you want to be here? Yes, of course you want money and you want, probably some stock, and you want a stable environment and you want a great team and all these things. But why? What specifically? Like, what about the company's mission or what they're doing attracted you to them versus someone else? So for example, if you were looking at big tech companies and you're like, I'm going to Google and not Meta, or I'm not going to Apple, I'm going to go to Google. Why? Like, why choose us over somebody else? So that's the 3-part structure to answer. Tell me about yourself. Most people do this wrong. They start talking about, I'm a lifelong learner, blah, 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 stuff that nobody really cares about in a job interview. So keep that in mind. Be very specific. Show that you can deliver measurable results as much as you can. And at a minimum, show your impact. Like what makes you stand out specific to that particular job role? Is a certain experience you have? Is a certain skill set you have that they're asking for? Are there certain transferable skills that you have that would be a good fit for the role? Flesh that stuff out for this question. Next question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Guess what? I don't even know where the heck I'm going to be in 5 years. Nobody does. So why are they asking this question? Well, really what we're trying to determine with this question is where can I fit you in the equation for the long term at this organization? What does that really mean? Well, what it means is that when people answer this, they typically are reading a book or listening to some idiot on social media, and they're saying, oh, I want your job in 5 years. I'm going to be in your job, or I'm going to be the CEO, or I'm going to be the CISO, or whatever. That's not realistic. I don't know if I'm going to have that role open for you in 5 years. So I want a different answer. I want you to show that you're looking to grow, but you're also looking to master what we're looking at to hire you for, right? I don't want you to immediately be thinking about the future. I also want you to master the job you're in. So a good way to answer this is like this example here. I want to take the next year to fully learn this role, right? And focus on the company's needs. And then in following years, I want to be basically the go-to person or the expert for, X in the company, or it could be, in this domain. So for example, if I'm going for digital forensics, I might say, hey, I want to be the go-to person in digital forensics, in the next, over the coming years. But right now I want to master this role. So answer this in a way that shows you want to have growth in the organization so they can actually help you get there. Because you never know what the actual job title might be 5 years from now. You could be the CEO, you could be the CISO, depending on how it works. Probably not though. Like, let's be realistic here. But they might send you to training based on what you want to specialize in and be the master at. Next question, what's your greatest weakness? The way to answer this, and guess what? Everyone has a weakness. And if you don't know your weakness, ask like family and friends, and ask people to be brutally honest because they're too nice usually. So ask them like, hey, be brutally honest with me. I'm going for job interviews. I need to know what my weakness is. Like, what is a weakness you think? Like, what's something you think I can do better? And that'll help you figure out the weakness if you don't know. Why are we asking this question as a hiring manager or a recruiter or HR person interviewing you? Well, we want to find out, are you self-aware? That's really what this question is all about. Are you able to recognize areas where you're weak, and are you able to construct a plan to fix the issue, or at least, if we were thinking in the risk standpoint, are you able to construct some kind of control that will help us reduce the risk? And where are we in the process of that, right? So if you put your cybersecurity hat on for a minute, this is just risk management right here. So you identify a weakness. So for example, in cybersecurity, we identify a vulnerability, right? So you've identified a weakness in yourself. So what's the vulnerability in you? How are you working to resolve it? So what's the control that you're going to put in place? What's that security control, or the process or the thing you're doing? And then where are you at in the process, right? Where are we at? Have we fixed it? Is it fully fixed? Are you still working on it? Like what's the issue here, right? That's how you answer this particular question. Again, everyone's got a weakness. So if you can't figure out a weakness, and guess what? If you say I work too hard, that's not a weakness. Like that just makes me think you're an idiot, honestly, in an interview. So figure out a real weakness. Like, are you uncomfortable speaking to large groups? Are you uncomfortable speaking to executives? Are you uncomfortable on a sales call? Are you uncomfortable like selling to people? Are you uncomfortable kind of marketing? Are you uncomfortable when you go to a networking event and talking to people there? Like what's uncomfortable? Do you feel that you maybe don't have, let's say the job's asking for Splunk, but you've got QRadar experience. That's a weakness, right? You can say, hey, look, I know the job's asking for Splunk. My background's strong in QRadar. So that's the weakness I have right now. I'm working to resolve it by taking Splunk courses. And where I'm at, I'm about 50% through my first course right now. Bam. As a hiring manager, I'm like, okay, cool. This person knows a weakness. They recognize an issue. In fact, they answered a question I had because I was like, well, your resume doesn't have Splunk on it. So they immediately took away an objection I had in the interview of hiring them. And now I'm like, okay, cool. They got a plan in place. And I can then as a hiring manager, I can say, look, how can I support you best? You're taking some free courses on Splunk, but are you against us like paying for you to go to actual training with a Splunk expert where you can learn a lot faster? And then the final question, of course, you probably guessed it, is what is your greatest strength? Well, again, this question is just trying to figure out, are you actually self-aware or not? And so identify some strength you have. But here, instead of trying to identify a plan to fix it, because you don't need to fix a strength, you want to give a specific example of when you use a strength. So, I'm one of my greatest strengths is public speaking, and I had to give a presentation to the board of directors, and this is what happened. And these were the other people involved. Blah blah blah. Now I understand, where I can potentially plug you in at the organization. So maybe the job doesn't ask for someone that can present to the board or to the C-suite, but now I know that that's an option with you, and you become much more valuable to me as a hiring manager than everybody else I'm interviewing. So a couple of quick questions here that are very common ones. You're probably going to get in every single interview you go through, or at least some kind of modification on these. If you need help with interviews, I've got a couple options below this video. One is simply the rest of this presentation, which is on job interviews. So it's just a recording. You'll download it. You also get a copy of the slides when you purchase it. The other option is scheduling a mock interview with me. So that you'll find a link below this video for that as well. And then also if you need like resume review, I've got a link for that as well. Again, all these are paid things, of course. And there are also some affiliate links below this video, so I get a few bucks if you sign up through those organizations for their trainings. But anyways, hopefully this was helpful for you. Literally practice these questions, and I'll post the questions again below this video in the description so you know what the questions are. But again, practice this stuff. You want to come to interviews prepared, and you should do just fine. Really, you already have a job when you get a job interview. It's just they may have a lot of people they may want to hire. And that's what the interview is. It's just, how can I weed out the people that aren't going to be the right fit? So the more you can get them to say yes to you in the interview, the much more likely you are to, number one, get a job offer, but number two, to also be able to negotiate things. Like, your base salary, stock options, extra vacation time, whatever the thing is. It could be getting certifications or memberships paid for by them or other educational things. So a lot of things you can negotiate, but the starting point is you got to show yourself as a high performer. And the way you do that is answering questions like this effectively. So again, I've got some help for you below this video if you need it. Feel free to check it out. And I look forward to seeing you successful and hearing about your success story. Feel free to share it with me on LinkedIn when you get your awesome job offer. Making billions, probably not billions, but making some good money in the cybersecurity world.